of Ukraine days in Berlin and Brandenburg. So now from Berlin, we are moving to Brandenburg and Potsdam University. And I would like to welcome the mathematics team from Potsdam and Kyiv that will discuss cooperation in the field of mathematics. Professor Sylvie Roelly, Dr. Alexandra Antoniouk, Dr. Tania Kosenkova, Mr. Alexandra Prikhotko, and Mr. Yuri Ganychenko. Welcome, and I would like to welcome Professor Dr. Sylvie Roelly. Thank you very much for being here. The floor is yours.
So good morning, everybody. Guten Morgen. Thank you very much to the organizers for the opportunity to present here some joint cooperation in mathematics, more precisely in probability, between colleagues from Kyiv and from Potsdam, and in some sense also from France, because I am not German but French. I would like indeed to present very shortly the team. I am the head of the project from the German side, and my colleague from Ukrainian side is Alexandra Antoniouk. She is online, and she will be happy to answer to your question if you have some at the end of my short presentation. Then we have three young researchers who are in the team and who are participating to the event. Tania Kosenkova is in the room, and she will say some words after my presentation. Yuri Ganychenko, is in Kyiv, and he will participate online shortly also after my presentation. And Alexander Prikhotko is in Warwick, and he will be, I hope, also online to as testimonial.
I'm sorry, do you know where have you been? Was it this one? This one?
No, the first one.
The first one.
Okay. So let me immediately begin with a short presentation about the shape of our cooperation. There will be no mathematical content that have. It is a pity, but it is a rule. So, first of all, we are really a so-called Institutspartnerschaft between two institutes. The one of mathematics in Potsdam on the left side. It is indeed on the campus Golm. It is not a historical campus, but anyway, we have a nice building. And from the Ukrainian part, it is the Institute of Mathematics of the Ukrainian Academy of Science, and you have here a photo of it. So what is indeed the cooperation on which I would like to say some more word? It is a cooperation founded by the Alexander von Humboldt Foundation, and the exact name is a research group linkage, so in German, Institutspartnerschaft. And naturally, this is focused on some topics, on some domain, mathematics, but more precisely on analysis and probability. And the creation of this research group linkage was possible only because we had a longer history and of several art of cooperations. And indeed, we had at the university level some agreements still 10 years ago. It was signed by the president of both universities, Potsdam and Shevchuk. And based on this agreement, we could obtain from the AD indeed agreement for some Leonhard Euler projects. And indeed, Tania Kosenkova was for the first time in Potsdam thanks to this kind of project, which is especially oriented for very young students, master students and PhD. And through the cooperation via students, we had the opportunity to meet senior researchers and to build more research cooperation, so deeper and wider. So then we had also a DAD scholarship for Yuri Ganychenko, for example, and this was another art of cooperation, but focused on one young researcher. And due to all these interactions between our two groups, indeed we were able to apply by the Alexandra von Humboldt Foundation for this wider research group linkage, which was really for us a very nice opportunity to have different kinds of exchanges. So in mathematics, indeed, we don't need so much, but we need to see us and to discuss and to write on the blackboard. So these are our main activities. This was very nice during 2 years, but unfortunately last year it was a little more complicated. So we are a little frustrated, but anyway, the beginning of this research group linkage was for each one at each level very rich cooperation, and I will say something more in the next slides. So our groups are not so large. We have 2-3 senior on each side and 5-6 junior. Naturally, the junior researchers were growing through the years, and they were at the beginning master, and now they are doc or postdocs. And there was, due to this nice size of both groups, very direct exchanges at the level of teaching and indeed supervision of young people. So the aim of the program is for the Alexandra von Humboldt Foundation that through these 3 or 4 years research linkage, we can begin a much longer academic collaboration, and this will be definitely the case. So, as I said before, in mathematics, the most important activity is discussions direct between researchers. So this is possible only if we can visit us, and this is promoted by the program. And also, as a result of the discussion, naturally, we aim to obtain a publication. And what you see here is a possibility for 2 of the senior researchers from Ukrainian side to have a nice publication in Potsdam University Press, which are lecture notes on some very specialized topics. So what we did in these 4 years or 3 years, first joint workshop at the University of Potsdam. What you see on the photo on the top is the very nice campus, historical campus in Potsdam at Neues Palais, where we could organize the meeting, and naturally some presentations. So you see on the left side Tania, you will see her in a few minutes, and then Olga Aryazova and Alexandra Prihodko, who will give also some testimonial. So we had research visits and joint publication, also not only lecture notes, but in research international journals. And one aspect of this program is also nice. We can buy some equipment for the Ukrainian Institute, and this was done and appreciated. So here you see Alexandra Antoniouk, who is online, and I would like to propose you to ask questions by chat, and she will answer to this if there are some. Is there already a question by chat or not? No. Okay. So can we take questions from the audience just now, or is it complicated?
No, it's all right. If there are some questions. Yes.
And we can do it when all members make their contributions, and then we can collect questions.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, Alexandra, we just spoke about the possibility to translate the questions at the end of the presentation of the young people, but I would like that you present very shortly yourself as the head of the project from Ukrainian side. Alexandra, we cannot hear you.
Alexandra, I'm sorry, there is some technical problem. We'll now try to solve it. May I just a second.
Do you hear me?
Now?
Okay. Thank you. And, it's very important that Sylvie makes so big efforts to support our collaboration and invite our young researchers to Potsdam. And she also visited several times Kyiv, and this is very nice from her. I would like also to say thank you to the organizers of this event. I have seen many people whom I know, for example, Eric Bistriki, nice to meet you. I know that Anna Tolstanova is there, so I don't see you, but I am sure that you are in audience. And I would like to thank to Oksana and all other organizers who have made possible this event. So thank you very, very much. And I hope that next time I may participate in person. So thank you very much. And I'm ready to answer your questions.
Yeah.
Presentation. I'm a Vice-Rector of Institute of High Technology from the Shevchuk National University. If it is not a secret, because you told us mathematics need...
You should be here. So you are Dr. Kosenkova. It's a question, sorry.
I know, I'm a very beautiful lady, I could come here. If it's not a secret, you told us that mathematics need just discussions and the blackboard. And you told us some equipment from for Ukrainian Institute, you bought it. What kind of equipment?
Computer.
It's very important because, thank you so much.
I also have a question. You said you bought a computer. Do you use some special computer system like clusters for calculations? It would be interesting to know a bit mathematical details on your collaboration project. Maybe you could explain on people who, I'm personally, for example, chemist, but I have no idea how the mathematics in academia is done. So would you please give us, for those who have no idea how the research is done, how do you proceed and conduct your research? Do you calculate on some computer clusters? How basically your research is looking like? Yeah, we'll appreciate that.
So thank you for the question. indeed, we are working in the domain of mathematics called analysis and stochastic analysis, so at the border between analysis and probability, and we are mainly writing the theory. So as illustration, we need sometimes to treat some example, and for that we have to let run some computer program, but mainly we are discussing about theoretical framework, and we are producing, transforming coffee in theorems, so like somebody are saying. So in the domain of probability, indeed, it is very nice because there is a lot of interesting model encoding the real world, and we all have seen very recently how important these models could be in health and pandemic, and so we are proposing different modelization, looking if they are realistic, adjusting the parameters and computing theoretically properties this model should have, if they are the good one, and if this is indeed well, so if this is in accord with the reality we are observing. So this is the main domain in which we are working.
I have a next question. Sorry, I'm very curious about. Can I ask, do you have some common Ukrainian-German cluster which you use for your project? So it's interesting if you use some platforms to collaborate online in the pandemic times, and how this influenced your research. For example, in my case, as a chemist, I couldn't go to the laboratory. Did the pandemic influence much your research, or you could continue doing this international collaboration between Ukrainian and German institution like it was before, or it didn't significantly impacted your work together with Ukrainian partner?
Sasha, please.
Influenced it very, very, very hard. So Sylvie has said that it's really very important to have personal contact. And my own experience shows that if you write the article by Skype or by Zoom, it takes much more time if you make this in person. That's why, as all science, we also very much dependent on the personal contacts. It looks like mathematicians, they need nothing but the blackboard, and Zoom connection may substitute all this, but this is not true. And for example, for me now, it is rather difficult to feel the audience. I am speaking with computer, and much more pleasure and inspiring we have when we talking in person. So this is how I see the situation. Maybe Sylvie would like to add something.
No, that's true.
Thank you for your presentation of cooperation opportunities in the mathematical field. As I understood, one of the applications of your research is health, like computational biology. I wonder, first of all, whether your research is driven by theory, like just beauty of mathematics, or by some applications? And what are your plans for the next 5 years in the area of applied stochastic processes, as they have a lot of applications in biology, in finance, in insurance, and so on? Thank you.
Thank you. Indeed, we are working at both levels, especially with the young researchers. So the senior researchers are educated to underview theories and to develop them, but we are also very interested by these concrete applications of stochastic processes in biology, in demography, and so on. So most of us, we supervise the thesis or postdoc in that applied areas. And so we are looking at both parallelly indeed. And this is one fertile advantage of probability to be both a theory which is going on each day and growing each day, and with a lot of different applications in the real world, and connected with other scientific domains.
Could you name just an example of such an applied project that is relevant for both Germany and Ukraine from the past or from your plans for the future?
Sasha, do you want to answer?
Thank you. When it is a very typical question to mathematician, what are you doing? When I'm talking to the people that I'm mathematicians, they first ask me, you are teaching the school? I say, no, I'm not teaching the school. Well, you teach in the university? No, at that time I was working in the Academy of Science. We are not education organization. I said, no, but what are you doing? I'm proving the theorems. And then immediately came the question, are not all the theorems are proved? So this is typical how people perceive mathematics. So what is mathematics doing? If you have some phenomena, you observe that it is experimentally works in such a way, and by experiments you have some rules, but you don't understand exactly why exactly in such a way is going on the things. And from my point of view, the role of the mathematics to make all this process provable, so rigorously proved that they really shows why the equilibrium arise, why the particles are going in such or in such a way. So our main task as a mathematician to make a correctness to that experimental phenomena that people observed in other science by real experiments. And we need to understand that mathematics is not equal to the computation or calculations. It may help to them, to the empirical science. For example, a lot of mathematical developments like a rigorous calculation then coming in computer, in data science. For example, modern data science are based on the Bayesian law. Bayesian law is a probability theory, what is Sylvie doing. And that's why your question, it is very natural question. People really want to have application direct application from the mathematics. But I would say that it is not necessary to consider the role of mathematics in such a direct way. So what Sylvie doing, what our team is doing, this is high quality mathematical developments and rigorous articles which are published in famous mathematical journals of high quality. And the way of thinking, we teach our students, our PhD students, to think correctly and properly and do not make mistakes. So maybe this is the most important. Maybe Sylvie will add something from her side.
No, thanks, Sasha. I would like now to give the word to Tania and to Yuri, if he's online.
Okay. So thank you very much for giving me the word, and I think I may answer the last question a bit. So I am a research assistant in the group of Sylvie, and I will speak a bit about my way and about some maybe applied research that we had. So for me, it really started with this Leonard Euler project during my PhD. I had a PhD under supervision of Alexei Kulik in Kyiv, in Shevchuk University, and on the second year, I guess, I was involved in this Leonhard Euler project, and it gave me, so the frame of the project was 1 year scholarship and also a visit of the German side of the project. So so this scholarship, it gave me an opportunity to learn German. It was actually written somewhere that we should do that. And then I came here with my A1 level of German, understanding naturally everything. And so I had an opportunity to learn the group, and so maybe now I have, looking back, I know that that visit was very, very good organized, because I had a lot of opportunities to do research networking. So I had 2 talks about my research during this stay, and one of these talks was at the Berlin and Potsdam seminar of probability theorists, and it gave me immediately the opportunity to present my research on the level of all 4 universities that are in Berlin and Potsdam, of course. And that's how it started. I started to, I had a very, very theoretical PhD, and I never thought that such thing could ever be applied to something. And somehow, after speaking a bit with people who were here, and so there was Michael Högele in the group of Sylvie, and Jan Gerin in Humboldt University, and Jan Gerin was in some SFB project involved with Sao Paulo, and they did climate models. And after a while, we were speaking a bit, and somehow my research could, so we have seen that my research could help to prove if the mathematical models under these climate models are really correct. So this is what Sasha said, that mathematics can give insight if the modeling is correct. So that's how it started for me. I had a linkage here through this Leonhard Euler project. I had linkage here, and since I think 2013, so between 2015 and 2013, I came to Berlin maybe 8 times. Oh, so Berlin and Potsdam. And then I was offered a position in the group of Sylvie, and I became a research assistant, but it was not a permanent position. And now I have a permanent position because in 2019, it was a miracle in the Institute of Mathematics. They opened a couple of permanent positions, which is very rare in German systems, this kind of permanent postdoc positions. So it's not a professor position, but it's a permanent postdoc position, let's say, wissenschaftlicher Mitarbeiter. And I applied successfully for this position, and now I'm working there again at the Institute of Potsdam, but on the other now permanent position. So this Leonhard Euler project was somehow essential for my way, for my scientific way, and I'm very, very grateful for that. So now I think I give the word back.
Alexandra, can you open him? Yeah, Yuri, if you hear me, could you please open your video, and then I am happy to give you the opportunity to say some words on your experience with the linkage Potsdam-Kyiv.
Yuri, just a second. We can't hear you yet. I will tell you when you can speak, okay? Just a second.
Okay.
Could you please start now?
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Sylvie, for this opportunity to add. Actually, my situation is the simplest one because I can build right now a speech on what previous speakers said. And I want to start with sending words to three groups. The first one is two countries, Ukraine and Germany. The second group is thank you to three programs. That is the Leonard Euler project and the 1 year postdoc project, and also for Alexandra von Humboldt project as well. And these three projects actually brought me particularly to where I am right now. And the third group are people, and I want to thank Professor Dr. Sylvie and Tania Kosenkova for supporting me my journey during the last approximately 10 years. Talking about how everything started for the collaboration of Ukraine and Germany from my side, these three projects that I mentioned, and it started back in 2012 when I was doing my PhD study, and we started collaboration with the Leonard Euler program. And it gave me a starting opportunity to come to Germany and to see how things in mathematics are applied, actually. There are several opportunities during my stay during the second project, that was the 1 year postdoc project. And the stay was for quite a long time. It was 1 year, and it gave me several opportunities as a researcher. The first one was to meet top-level scientists who were working in the same direction that I did at the same time. And I met researchers not only from Germany, but from Italy, from France, from Japan. And it was a great opportunity for me just to build myself as a researcher, as a scientist. And it gave me an opportunity to visit some places to see how research is going on in different countries. And during this stay, I visited together with Professor Dr. Roelly and Tania Kosenkova and other people. I visited, for example, Colombia, and I participated in different conferences in different countries, in the UK, in Germany, in France, other countries. So actually, these years were very productive and very important for me to build myself as I am right now. And Tatiana talked about the opportunity to apply your knowledge, and it's the same for me, for sure. And Ukraine is known for its big school, theoretical school, and Germany helped me to apply this knowledge. Talking not only about mathematics, it's the way of thinking as well. And the way of thinking, talking about me, was not established, but narrowed down during my stay in Germany. So thank you very much for it. And when I'm talking about how this collaboration brought me to where I am, right now I'm an associate professor at Kyiv School of Economics. It's a leading Ukrainian university and a think tank. And my focus is right now on research, not scientific research, but applicable research in this think tank direction here. And I'm also a head of Health Economic Center and contributing to previous speakers on what we are doing as mathematicians. For example, in Ukraine, I am a developer of a mathematical epidemiological model on how COVID is going on. So we are building scenarios that are directly used by the government of Ukraine, and we have a direct impact of our analysis and application of mathematics. And we also can collaborate with practitioners, meaning, for example, I'm a member of the group of technical working group for COVID response in Ukraine, and we are collaborating with such international organizations like World Health Organization, World Bank, United Nations Development Program, and other organizations, UNICEF, and also with Ukrainian organizations like Ukrainian National Academy of Science as well. So this was a very productive start for me, and I would like to add many thanks to organizers and to both countries, and specifically to Professor Dr. Sylvie Roelly for all the efforts that she put on me to be here as where I am right now.
Thank you very much, Yuri. Thank you.
I think, Professor Roelly, we're ready to take questions, right? Mm-hmm. Or we have...
If there are other questions.
Maybe just a comment on my behalf. So trying to understand here now, so on which kind of institutions these networks come together, and we heard in the beginning, so in the morning, about Erasmus Plus as the first network bringing people together. You mentioned the Alexandra von Humboldt program with which you built this institutional partnership, but it seems to me that the condition is to have at least one fellow, so Humboldt fellow. So as far as I know from our Institute for East European Studies and experience with such partnerships, we needed one fellow. So one of the sides needs to have a fellow of the Humboldt Foundation.
Yes, indeed. I was writing that in the slide. To apply for this program from the Ukrainian side, it should be done by an alumni, somebody who had a fellowship, and it is the case for Sasha. She was in Bielefeld in the 90s, and indeed it is also my case because I am French and I came to Germany with a fellowship. So we were both fellow alumni, and this was also naturally helping. But anyway, it was also very good to have already begun a cooperation between our teams.
So
yes.
Maybe there aren't that many people aware of this possibility. So to further build on this network of Humboldt alumni and develop it in the direction of such institutional partnerships, so partnerships between institutes. And I think what's remarkable is that I understand that also PhD student supervision, so kind of built on the resources of this institutional partnership. So you had research days for your PhD students here. Yeah. So monthly research days, probably. Okay.
Yes, indeed, because the young researchers who were doing or writing their PhD during the time of the project naturally are in contact directly with other senior researchers, and this helped to go on in a multilateral way, the research. And this is very helpful, definitely.
Do we have any more questions from the audience or digitally? Then I think we can proceed. We're already, yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Professor Roelly. And we are proceeding with our next panel group. I would like to invite Dr. Karsch, Professor Tolstanova, and Mrs. Sholokh to present the experience of international cooperation between Humboldt University of Berlin and Taras Shevchenko University of Kyiv.
Ich mache jetzt,
Ja,
ich gebe das jetzt frei.
Genau, wie scroll ich?
Das machen Sie entweder mit diesem Knopf oder hier.
Ach so, okay.
Wie Sie wollen.
Dankeschön.
Good to see you. We will give you some insights on our project on biomedicine, which was framed and supported by the Erasmus scheme. So, first of all, I'm the regional coordinator for Central and Eastern Europe at Humboldt-Universität, so I will give you some general remarks about our Erasmus activity, and then my colleagues will join in and give you a more detailed insight about biomedicine, and we have a testimonial too for you. So the first step was the Erasmus Mundus program. You might remember this funding line. It was kind of the predecessor of the 107 Erasmus Plus funding line we have now. The format was a bit different. You joined a consortium. You had, for instance, 10 Western European universities and 10 universities from a certain region. In this case, it was Ukraine, Belarus, and Moldavia. And the idea behind this was really good because you could make contact during the work in this consortium. So you did not have to have the contacts beforehand. You could make them in this consortium. And really, we started as the international office with applying for the Erasmus Mundus funding, joined a consortium for Ukraine, Belarus, Moldavia, and then asked our scientists, are you interested in joining? So we have some partners here. See, Ivana Frankov from Lviv and Taras Shevchenko from Kyiv. Are you interested somehow in joining and starting some programs, some project with them? And yes, it turns out that at least our Slavonic department was interested. I mean, they have to be, but sometimes even they have to be pressed. But in this very case, they were ready to join us and came into this project, traveled. So we had several successful applications in this Erasmus Mundus funding scheme, an overall time period of 8 years, when we invited colleagues and students and sent some of them abroad. But it was mainly Slavonic studies and social sciences. But this was the first step, and now we had the partnerships with Lviv and Kyiv to be developed further. And the second step was now the Erasmus Plus 107, and as you are all aware, this was more bilateral, more focused. I mean, you can apply saying we have a good infrastructure for mobility, for exchange of students and researchers and scientists. So our mobility scheme is fine, please give us money. This is okay, but you can do it otherwise, and we tried to have a thematical focus in this application already. So we said, okay, exchange is fine, we have the infrastructure, but additional to that, we propose to have a thematic focus in the bilateral cooperation between our universities. So again, we had social sciences and Slavic or Slavonic studies, but we added biochemistry too, and we broadened the focus not only in the fields, but only in the question of who is going mobile. So we are not only students, but more and more researchers. So this was the second step, and then we extended to the third step, and we added external partners, associated partners, which is possible in the Erasmus 107 funding scheme. On the other hand, we had the good situation that professors from the Max Delbrück Center were professors at Humboldt too, so they were affiliated to both institutions. And we could invite PhD candidates to the Max Delbrück Center finance them via the Erasmus 107 scheme by the Humboldt Universität, but we could provide those students with a scholarship for at least one semester, and they came to their PIs at the Max Delbrück Zentrum. And how successful this story was, you will hear now from my colleagues from Kyiv.
Dear colleagues, dear organizers, thank you very much for having my university here, because I represent other universities, and I would like to start first of all couple words about our university. Taras Shevchenko National University of Kyiv is the #1 university in Ukraine. At the March of 2021, we had election, and all top management of our university was changed, and our new rector is Professor Bugrov. He is really the manager in the education, and he is really very active to support all initiatives. The Taras Shevchenko National University consists of several buildings, two main campuses, one in the city center. You can see the historical point of Ukraine, red building of the university, and also we have the big campus outside of the city center. That campus has the students' dorm spot, and also life sciences departments, university clinics, so on. Our university is really classical university, since we have all disciplines. Even we have the military institute at our university. So we teach students from law, economics to their physics, chemistry, medicine, biology, so on. Also, we are unique since we have the Lyceum. It's a separate faculty of our university, and we teach the school children. It's a high school from all regions of Ukraine. They have pension, they stay at their school all the time, and it's really best of the best students in the physics and the mathematics. Our university is the biggest university in Ukraine, since nowadays we have more than 30,000 students, among them almost 2,000 international students, and we would like to increase this number. Of course, all the students taught by the professors and the PhDs. Today we talk about international cooperations, and we have more than 300 agreements, but of course we know that we can sign that agreement, but not all agreements work. And behind all agreements must be right people. And today I would like to share with you all the story at the slide of my colleague in previous talk. It was under the title Third Steps, and it looked like very easy, just third step. Okay, you just made a third step, that's all. But I would like to tell about more what was behind the stage before that third step. In 2018, at our university was the big biochemistry conference, Parnas conference, which supported by their FABS Foundation. And one of the speakers at that conference was the professor of Nikolaus Rajewski, and I admitted that lecture. It was the keynote lecture, and I was admired by the research, the topic of research, and he described the newly opened institute in Berlin, Berlin Institute for Medical System Biology. And I realized that at these institutes and this new direction of research, he combined the people from different disciplines. So the people from physics, chemistry, biology, mathematics, they work together. And I approached him and told him, you know what, at our university we have the very similar institute. We have the Institute of High Technologies. This is a unique institute for entire Ukraine, since we have 4 departments and 2 nanophysics, physics, biology, and chemistry department. And we teach students around all these 2 disciplines would be interested to collaborate and to collaborate at the level of joint master degree projects for these students at different disciplines. And as I mentioned, of course, we need to be in the right place with the right people. And I was really very lucky. Then he forwarded our idea to Oksana Zoymenicht. And because of her huge energy, and she wrote me back and said, you know what, Nikolaus Rajewski told me that he is interested. What we have to do next? And I told her, okay, what we can do next? And at this point, this joint idea to connect the Erasmus Plus of Humboldt University with whom we already had the Erasmus Plus project with the separate partner MDC appeared. It was, I think, fruitful cooperation at the start, and I hope it was only start. You know, during the previous presentation, we heard about timeline. And I would like to say we had not a timeline, we had a speed line. Because from the first meeting in 2018 up to this day, and of course we are not too lucky because we had COVID limitations and restrictions. Despite of that, we moved forward very actively. In August 2019, because of funding from Erasmus Plus program, the group, 3 people from our university came to the Berlin, and you know, I analyzed retrogradely the program, and I would say that so far I still continue to realize all knowledge which I get from that 1 week, because schedule was very hectic. And I would say big thank you to Oksana that she organized, she answered all questions which we put on the list. We visited the international office at Humboldt University and also the Department of Quality Management. And it was only 1 day visit, but mostly we spent time at MDC. And in MDC, we have both the scientific collaboration and professor from our university, Professor Komarov. He was recently elected as the director of the Institute of High Technology. He gave a lecture, and from MDC, we had also lecture from Professor Michael Bader and Dr. Natalia Alenina. And I would say I didn't want at the beginning one-way road. And we invited them to our event at the Taras Shevchenko National University, and they also participated in Biomed Talks conference, which we organized for students and young researchers, and tomorrow we will have meeting with them also to continue our discussion on the mutual joint projects. And also it was really a lot of ideas about the science management. We learn a lot. And especially what we need for Ukraine, the idea on the scientific technological platform. I was really surprised how well it's organized, and I thank to people from MDC because they honestly shared all the problem related to that, all the stigma which they observed from the professors who didn't want to do that, to any joint collaboration on their equipment, but they were really successful. And we decided also to realize that idea, and right now, after that visit in 2019, we've done almost 1.5 year negotiation to start the build, the interdisciplinary hub, which will be based on the idea of the technological platform of MDC. We got their building for the reconstruction. For that, we found the sponsors to do the new design, and also we apply for invest money as an investment project to build this new building for the interdisciplinary research. So under the one roof, we will get the physics, biochemistry, bioinformatics, and chemistry department, and also this building will be closely built near the university clinic to push the clinical research. And also to go to a lower level, but the most important level, as I think, also at this short term, we also realized other projects to elect the best students for their master degree project, to do their master degree project at their either MDC or other laboratory, which was supported through the Erasmus Plus project. And on this slide, you can see 2 master degree students which share with us their feedback, and they are really happy about this idea, and they gained great experience, and two of them applied for the PhD program, Natalia Kuzub at Taras Shevchenko National University and Maria Karshevnyuk at EU program. Okay, and here we have the real proof that this collaboration exists, and I would like to pass the stage to PhD students who graduated from the master degree program at Taras Shevchenko University and was elected as a PhD student for the MDC. Anastasiia. Thank you.
So, good afternoon, everyone. It's a great honor for me to be here. And my name is Anastasiia, and I'm a biology PhD student. And today I would like to share with you my experience of how this Ukrainian-German collaboration contributed to my scientific career. So, 8 years ago, when I started my study at the Taras Shevchenko National University, I kind of started an amazing journey through the world of biology. And of course, the science here was the most exciting experience. And while being a student, I was lucky to work for various laboratories, research laboratories in Ukraine. And it gave me a strong, solid background in the different fields of biology. But of course, at one moment, I realized that for my future career development, I have to challenge myself more, and I wanted to become a part of international scientific community. And for this, of course, I needed to get an experience of working abroad. And exactly in this lucky moment, my master thesis supervisor, Dr. Tolstanova, who just gave a speech to you, she told me about exactly this opportunity to apply for this Erasmus-supported internship and do some research at Max Delbrück Centrum here in Berlin. And of course, I could not miss this opportunity. I went to the website, have chosen the group I want, went through the application procedure, had an interviews and all the steps, and in the end, I was selected and invited for the internship. But my story wasn't so straightforward, because due to some really technical moments, in the end, I could not go. Basically, just because the lab I selected was moving from campus in Buch to campus in BMSP, and since it was the last year for me, last year of my master, it was simply impossible to combine everything in terms of time. So this was the only reason why I did not come in the end. But in this, again, very right moment, this idea, this collaboration gave me, again, first of all, the first experience of having this kind of interview with some research institutions abroad, and it opened for me MDC. I learned on the website information. I understood this is something that I really wanted to continue working on. And then, in a few months, when MDC again opened the call for new PhD students, I basically, with no doubt, have chosen the project, applied, and in the end, as you can see, I'm finally here. And then, since February 2020, so as I always say, literally 1 month before the COVID came to Berlin, I came here and started working on my PhD at MDC at campus in Buch under the supervision of Professor Klusman. And yeah, now together for 1.5 years, we're trying to understand how the one mutation in one gene that encoded for the specific phosphodiesterase for specific protein, how this mutation, on the one hand, cause severe hypertension, what are the mechanisms, but on the other hand, which is the most interesting, how this mutation at the same time protects kidney from hypertension-induced damage, which you would expect in any other cases of hypertension. So what I wanted to say in the end, that even though in my case, like this proper Ukrainian-German collaboration in the end didn't work in the expected way, but on the other hand, it showed me kind of the way I have to follow, and probably in the end, it gave me even much more. And I'm very grateful for this opportunity to all people that participated on my way. And thank you very much for your attention as well.
Thank you very much. So are there any questions from the on-site audience or the digital audience of the conference? So I would like maybe to start and ask Dr. Karsch, maybe it would be interesting to coordinate with Humboldt University to find paths of cooperation in terms of our presence in Ukraine. So I would like to know what are the plans of how regarding the strengthening of your Ukrainian presence. I mean, so what are the plans of in terms of internationalizing more in Ukraine and maybe to think of common initiatives between HAU and FU in that area?
Yes, so it's not so easy for me or for Humboldt to develop Ukrainian projects because we don't have Ukrainian studies at our Slavonic department. We have a lot of Slavic languages, but not Ukraine. And so it's not that easy. So once we try to establish kind of an additional Ukrainian language and cultural program at the Slavonic department, and we are inviting scientists and lecturers for that. So we have to combine several funding schemes to have a constant proposal for Ukrainian-inspired or lectures on the field of Ukrainian studies. So this is one thing we do, and we do this successfully, more or less. So you cannot get a diploma or something like that, but you can get some Ukrainian language courses, and you can get some seminars who are accounted ECTS credited. So this is one thing. Another one, you can apply in the DAD scheme supporting the democratization of Ukraine. I'm not completely sure about the name of the program. And yes, we had at least some groups study groups who discussed the problems of collective memory of places of historical importance, and they discussed it with the students from Ukraine, and the scholars, Ukrainian scholars were included. So this was a one-time project, but nevertheless it had some impact, I'd say. We invite some colleagues from the Ukrainian practical language department to teach. I mentioned that already, but we have another invitation scheme for literal scientists or cultural and literary history. They can teach too for 1 semester. So there's a person coming, and then the scheme here is the VW Foundation. It's not the, and the Surkamp gives some money too for this. Yeah. So these are the main lines we are working in.
Maybe we could use the Berlin University Alliance framework to actually coordinate more in that direction, based also on the ideas you've just mentioned and the projects you've just mentioned.
Thank you. I would be happy to do that. Yes, thank you.
Okay, now we will, thank you. Are there any more questions? If not, we will now proceed to the presentation and discussion of the Joint Master Program in Public Health by Professor Ulrichs and Dr. Shevchuk.
First of all, I would like to tell you that it's a great honor and a big pleasure to present to the such honorable public the results of our cooperation with Akon University and the Institute for International Aid Research, and it's really very important for us, and I think it is clear that when we are talking about any collaboration, first of all, we are talking about the people interaction, we are talking about in person, and it is very important. And before I start talking about details of our cooperation, first of all, I would like to thank you and express our great attitude on behalf of our rector, Mikhailo Korda, and behalf of our all collaborators, to Professor Timo Ulrich, to Ms. Gabi Feldman, to Oksana Zoymenich, to Olga Haraschuk, and to Natalia Butic. She was an excellent coordinator for the other program in internationalization, and for everybody who some details was a part of our collaboration and research. Our collaboration, it will be in the field of the public health, and as you know, in the light of COVID-19 pandemic, public health issues and strengthening capacity in public health. First of all, human resources and services became the cutting edge and very urgent and very important issues. Before we have several directions in our cooperation, and the first one I would like to tell you is the series of our symposiums, International Ukrainian German Public Health Symposiums. It was already 2 annual symposiums, and we will be happy to invite you for the third one, which will be held in September this year. And the first symposium, which was organized together with Akon University of Human Sciences and with the support of the Federal Ministry of Health of Germany, it was held in September 2019 in Ternopil in our university, and it was in offline mode and not like we already have it. And it was supported by the governmental Director General of the Public Health Center of the Ministry of Health of Ukraine, by the coordinator of Educational Center of the Public Health Center of the Ministry of Health of Ukraine. And we hosted over 100 participants and speakers from our university, Ternopil National Medical University, from Ostrog Academy, from Bukovinian Medical University, Vinnytsia Medical University, from Bohomolets National Medical University, from Kyiv-Mohyla University, and the other one. The second annual symposium, before that, we also, and Professor Timo Ulrichs and Ms. Gabi Feldman had a good opportunity to visit our summer school. Every time before COVID-19 pandemic, during summer holidays, we have summer school, student summer school, where we have a great pleasure to host Ukrainian and foreign students from different countries, and it's one of the great opportunity for interactions and for in-person communication. And here you can see some pictures and really warm memories from these events. The second symposium, Public Health in the Social and Educational Space, Challenge for the Reform and Development Prospect. It was already held in online mode because of COVID-19 pandemic. And here we could talk about the series of webinars because of SARS-CoV-2 infection and responding of healthcare systems in Ukraine, in Germany, and in other countries. And such symposiums were held almost each month, and we started in December 2020, and you can see that it was in a partnership with Akon University, with the Institute for Research of International Assistance and Association of Research Pharmaceutical Company. The first one, we also involved the representative from Lviv Regional Center for Public Health. The second one also was in January 2021 already, and we were delighted with the presentation from Professor Timo Ulrich, from Ms. Gabi Feldman, from Dr. Siegfried Trom, and Mr. Harold Zimmer, and our professors in infectious diseases, Vasil Kopcha, and also Lviv Regional Center for Public Health. One more such webinars, one in February 2021, and we were pleased with the lectures from Jens Godbrecht, also unfortunately in online mode, and the chief statutory sanitary doctor of our region by the support of government of Ministry of Health of Ukraine. The one more webinar was June 25, 2021. It's a webinar of public health as a component of national security of Ukraine. So you can see we have a lot of context, and it was really very helpful in the cooperation of public health and training of professionals in this field. One of the most great results of our cooperation, it is the joint master program in public health. This year, in June, we had the first graduation of master's degree students. You can see some of them here. And to support and provide such joint master program, we had the series of Skype lectures from Germany's side for our students, and also the part of their and the results of their PhD diploma were presented for German our partners. So also I would like to tell that our cooperation led to very good results in Erasmus Plus project. It's a SafeMed Plus project and BASE project, where our university is a partner, and also TNMU became a co-founder of the Eurasian Alliance for Global Health. And I would like to emphasize and point out that without our cooperation with German university, I don't think it could be possible. And also, I'm very delighted to ask you to join for our online annual, already as a good tradition, Symposium Public Health in the Global and Regional Dimension, Challenges in the Context of the COVID-19 Pandemic and the Prospect for Development. It will be held in online mode in just 2 weeks, yeah. So it will be good if you could join and have some opportunity to see the program. And I'm really hope for our future fruitful collaboration and future project. And thank you very much for your attention. And the floor goes to Professor Timo.
Yeah, thank you, Oksana. I don't have so much to add. Perhaps the rationale behind this initiative to collaborate in public health was that working together in these different health issues is, of course, crucial in the sense of how to build up a network for global health, what you just pointed out in one of your last slides. And this is why our partnership was funded in the starting phase by the German Federal Ministry of Health, and it was about to assist and help implementing a Master of Public Health study program in Ukrainian partner universities. And what came out was a very strong and good university partnership between Akron University and the university in Ternopil. So not only that we now collaborate on the master program in public health, according to the Bologna criteria of the European Union. And with the standards that are also acknowledged by WHO, we also collaborate on different health issues and projects that are of joint interest, namely in tuberculosis containment and research, but also some other research questions in borreliosis and others. And these single projects are ongoing, but we just published a kind of a midterm evaluation of these different sub-projects, and this was just published last week, and you can get a free copy if you like and are interested right in front of this auditorium. So this is what we try to follow up on also in the online version, and nothing is a better role model for the importance of global and public health issues than the corona pandemic, and this is why we also exchange our experiences on how to deal with this health challenge right now, but also in getting better prepared for the next pandemic, so that we learn from our experiences vice versa in this field. And the corona pandemic also showed that the resilience of a healthcare system is very important in order to provide and to store different consumables, but also to invest in education and training of medical personnel, not only in the physicians and doctors, but also in the nursing staff. And here we also will set up future collaborative projects in nursing and also other paramedic programs, educational programs. So this is why we try to combine research questions in different applied sub-projects with the educational programs, and we hope that we can continue this over the next years, so that we can really have a good platform for also implementing global health educational sessions, also in having a joint master program in global health, which we will start here in Berlin by next year. Perhaps I should also mention that as Ternopil is our main partner, we also established kind of a network right now, as you saw with these public health symposia, but also especially in Lviv and also in Vinica on different aspects of these research questions that I just mentioned. So this is what I just wanted to add, but Oksana already did this big presentation, so I thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you very much for this fascinating set of presentations. Are there any questions from the audience?
Thank you very much both for this excellent talk and for sharing experience. Thank you very much for an excellent talk and for sharing experience of the joint master program in the public health. I actually find this result of collaboration really fascinating. It's a big result for Ukrainian University. And may I give you from me personally a big compliment to your outfit, and thank you very much, Professor Urlix, for wearing Ukrainian embroidery clothes, vyshivanka, and as a Ukrainian girl, I feel very honored. And now coming to the topic, can you tell if you were investigated the questions of COVID-19 in your symposia that you had on a regular basis, from what I understood, and if you could compare the COVID situation in Ukraine and in Germany, and how the situation was managed, and what knowledge of the or experience did you distribute to the Ukrainian side regarding the managing of the situation in Ukraine? Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course, thank you. A very good question. So, of course, we want to learn from each other and also learn how measures and its communication to the public are or have an impact on epidemiological figures, for example, on how these curves can be flattened, or how the mortality rates are, and so on. And here, indeed, we all had to learn from scratch, so there was no real experiences, although in Germany there was a big exercise in the years of 2012 and 13 using a coronavirus as a role model for how to deal with a pandemic situation, but this was then just taken and just put away into some drawer, and so there was all new. And although our healthcare systems had different levels of medical equipment and of consumables, we also had to learn how and which security measures also for securing the medical personnel are useful, and introducing face masks and social distancing was more or less simultaneously introduced in the two countries, and then everything went according to the epidemiological course, so that we had first wave, then a break in the summertime, and then in the season autumn, winter 2020-21, our countries all suffered from different re-increase of the newly infected rates. However, what is also important is what are the indirect impacts of this corona pandemic on different patient groups and on the capacities that are reserved for emergencies, for example. And here, of course, it is a difference between the bigger cities and the more rural areas. And as Ukraine is a bit bigger than Germany, and also here are the experiences also very precious, so that we could also learn how the dynamics of the viral spread could have an impact on, for example, postponing surgery and everything else. There are many similarities in terms of the coronavirus spread dynamic, and also how how fast we learned from the outer circumstances and introduced measures. For example, wearing face masks, but also how to get vaccine doses for the first vaccinations and which patient groups to prioritize. So this was then also very interesting, and in our webinar series we had the chance to not only give presentations but also have a question and answer session and a real panel discussion, so to learn from these very short-term experiences and then how to exchange it. So this was really a good experience, and we although the role model of the pandemic was of course bad, but good for showing and presenting that public health approaches are very important, and that we have to invest more research in this field, which is, in comparison to biomedical science, much more neglected.
Alexandra, Freie Universität Berlin. I have a follow-up question actually to Sophia's. So in your research, that the findings that you have just described, do you have a possibility to influence the policy, the actual health, public health policy of Ukraine or Germany for that matter?
Thank you for the question. It's very important to really have an impact on the policy and governmental policy and Ministry of Health policy. You know, because owing to our collaboration and because of the support of the Public Health Center of Ministry of Health, we really have an opportunity to give our support, our ideas, how to improve the gaps in the public health services in Ukraine, because, you know, Ukraine is a quite big country, and even today we see the inequalities for public health services, for access to the services in different regions of Ukraine, when we're talking about urban or rural societies. So it really matters, and the the modeling and the comparison how it is going in Germany, how it is in Ukraine, really helpful, and it really could add the value to the policy making in Ukraine. You know, last year we already gained the grants from Recoup Association for the study of post-COVID-19 patients. And even in Ternopil region, it's a western part of Ukraine. It's the one climate region. It's really cozy place. It's not Kyiv. It's very big. I don't talk bad. It is bad, but it's really big. And in that situation, we see that there are differences in the impact of COVID-19 on the life quality, on the all issues of the common life of people, of persons. And owing to our collaboration, we really see the ways how to impact on the policy making and how to implement in our country.
Perhaps I might just add, because this is a very important question. Of course, every healthcare system has to undergo constant reform processes and to adapt to the health challenges, at least for the 21st century. And Germany's healthcare system, of course, has a delay in these reform processes, and now we have also these difficulties with the pandemic. The Ukrainian healthcare system is a healthcare system in transition, namely from a post-Soviet Sebashko socialistic healthcare system to a more modern insurance-based model system for facing these health threats of our days. And this transition process is still ongoing and has to cope with different single challenges, for example, the HIV/AIDS spread and also tuberculosis, and now in addition the corona pandemic. And in order to also learn from each other, and this is very important to just come together and talk about different public health issues on the long run, but also in the framework of the WHO, which released in 2010 the universal health coverage idea, so that the whole population should be covered by financing, by the infrastructure, and also by what is offered as things that can be offered to cure patients, for example, and to diagnose the diseases. And this is also part of the whole idea of international health regulations, so that you have a certain level of health security, so that your own population can rely on its healthcare system, and it follows certain internationally acknowledged standards. And in this context, we have this very long-term partnership, and our bilateral partnership is also meant to bring up some recommendations that we could submit into this transitional process of the healthcare reforms. Thank you.
If I can also ask a question, just because I was struck by actually two specific characteristics or two peculiarities of your collaboration, namely that your Ukrainian partners are in smaller cities, as I understand, Ternopil and Chernivtsi. Yeah, so, I mean, that would be something one would like to see more. So this kind of partnerships involving smaller cities as well. So how come this exactly came into being in this way? So with partnerships in smaller cities. So first of all, and second of all, you have a joint master program. So which is very valuable, of course, but we also know from this Erasmus data that very often it's far more people that come from Eastern European countries, Eastern Partnership countries to Western countries than the other way around. Are you also dealing with this kind of imbalance? And if yes, how do you deal with it? Or, I mean, I don't have a problem with it if more people from Eastern Europe come to the West and vice versa, but you often hear it presented by Erasmus people as a weakness of the program, and as an imbalance.
Okay, so I will start. To your first question, indeed, when we started out with this project, we also approached Bogomolets University in Kyiv and also the Mohyla Academy. And Mohyla Academy, this is what I forgot to mention, is also another partner for the implementation of the Master of Public Health program. And now many other medical universities, as Oksana pointed out, are interested now in joining this network of implementation of Master of Public Health, but also in dealing with these public health questions. And indeed, the idea is, of course, to have a joint Master of Public Health at the end, but we are still a work in progress, so we still have to undergo the accreditation processes in both countries and internationally, but we are on a way, but we still not have yet this joint master with the certificates. However, we issue, of course, these bilateral certificates in single courses and so on. We are on our way to do so. And you are also right, there is a certain imbalance that many people go from east to west and not so much from west to east. We try to get medical students interested in the study offers in Ternopil, as many Ukrainian universities also offer two lines, an English-speaking line of medical education and a Ukrainian, so that many visiting students are there from all over the world, but also from EU countries. And this is kind of one idea to have a certain balance in between. For public health, this is at a much lower level, but we have to strengthen this whole program and also make sure that it is an integral part of the public health education in Germany, also to get to know about burden of disease and the outer circumstances in Eastern Europe, and Ukraine would be our main partner for this. Okay.
Just one.
Yeah, please.
Just one addition. In Ukraine, there is a system for accreditation of the educational program, and our joint master program in public health is already accredited in Ukraine, and it is established by NAZAWA, I don't know how it will be in English, by Ministry of Health and Ministry of Education and Science. So we are going in this step. I hope it will be good.
Thank you very much. And again, at this point, I would like to express my gratitude to the DAD and its funding line Osto-Europa-Tage that has financed this event, and also to the Federal Ministry of Education and Research that has provided the funds in the same direction with the DAD. Thank you very much. And now we are going to have the last panel before the breakout session for lunch. Mrs. Butic and Mrs. Pistor will present their experiences from internationalization in Ukraine.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Natalia Butic. I work at the Leibniz University Hanover, located in northern Germany, and would like to tell you about our project that has been conducted for 2 years already, Management of Internationalization and German-Ukrainian Academic Cooperation. So now the presentation will be shared, and you will see on the first slide the main building and campus of our university. You see also chestnut trees, which also makes a linkage to Kyiv, and our partner university in this project is also Taras Shevchenko University that was mentioned today several times, besides German-Ukrainian Academic Society and also Network Science Managers. So what we do in this project, as you know, good science need also good science managers. And we are trying to help Ukrainian universities to get more international and also to support internationalization of Ukrainian universities. So we are conveying in-depth knowledge of all relevant aspects of internationalization and conduct various workshops and seminars and foster in such a way German-Ukrainian academic collaboration. And also one of the aim of this project is to strengthen and build networks within Ukraine and Germany and also internationally. So that is one of the findings of our project, that there are not that many networks for practitioners who could support internationalization process in Ukraine, and so we would like to change that. The project is supported by the German Academic Exchange Service with the funds of Federal Ministry of Education and Research, and we are very happy about that. So this training program is organized in such a way that we have 5 modules which are divided into workshops, very intensive workshops. Due to Corona, we had to conduct them all online, and we were amazed how well it worked, and all our participants were very enthusiastic. So 3 of bigger workshops we organized online, and our final workshop could take place in Kyiv last week in a hybrid format. So during the project duration, we have regular online meetings where science managers from Ukrainian universities can exchange information. Also, they develop their individual project that they realize at their universities, and do also peer review. So that is also one of the findings. So the communication channels within Ukrainian universities are quite complicated, and there are very little exchange between Ukrainian universities on the subject of internationalization, and we did first steps to change that. The participants of our project became also EIE members for this year. EIE is European Association of International Education. And here you see a selection of modules. So we talk about internationalization, its aims and goals, but also about practical stuff like how can managers support the scientists to develop from ideas real projects and apply for the funding, or what funding is available, how we can organize mobility and exchange. Also recognition is an important issue. We talked also about science diplomacy and also international marketing. Of course, soft and management skills such as intercultural communication, conflict management are crucial for the international collaboration. Here on this slide, you see our participants. So only one person could apply from an institution, and we have in this project institutions from all over Ukraine. So these are small universities, very specific ones, but also bigger universities, and in such a way we have a variety in size and numbers, but also in geographical location. So in such a way the universities can start the exchange of information, and what they see actually during the project, that the challenges that they face are very similar, and they have lots of common and can collaborate. So if we sum up the topics of internationalization project that each participant realized at his or her university, we can sum them up into these areas like strategy development. Some universities have already internationalization strategies, some universities just starting developing them. Structural change, so how you should structure your institution and establish communication channels so that internationalization work. Also topics as capacity and competence building, but also mobility and academic exchange, marketing and visibility. And one prominent topic that also due to COVID was very, very current was internationalization of a curricula at home. So how the university can provide the knowledge for the students who cannot travel abroad, because it's a very small amount of students who actually take part at the mobility programs, how they still can learn from international experience, and of course internationalization of research. So we organized also a forum on 9th of September 2021, so last week, on internationalization of Ukrainian higher education institutions, and gave our participants the chance to present their projects, and it was a hybrid format, so the German representatives took at this forum online, to participate it online, and Ukrainian participants could actually come to Kyiv, and it was a very nice experience. So at the end of September, the participants of our project will also present their institutions at the EIE Community Exchange virtual conference and exhibition, and there we'll have Management of Internationalization Ukraine virtual booth, where the participants will be able to exchange the information and also to get the current trends of internationalization and be able also to establish international contacts. So at this point I would like to thank you, first of all, the German Ministry for funding such a project and giving a unique opportunity to Ukrainian universities to learn from each other, from German experience, and also help them to integrate into the European science community. So we will have a next call, and we will select 16 Ukrainian universities for the years 22 and 23. We modified our program in such a way that we learned from the online experience, and we'll keep lots of modules online. And we added such topics as virtual exchange, as it is very current nowadays, and also sustainability at universities. Thank you for your attention.
So first of all, cannot hear me. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me to my first business trip since 1 year. And I'm very happy about this. And also for celebrating 2 anniversaries with you. And above all, of course, thank you for inviting me to speak about our project, Thea Ukraine. Can I give you some assistance here? Please. It's that one, the first one? The first one, thank you. You there? No. Great. Thank you very much. And thank you for the good organization. So I'm going to speak about our project Thea Ukraine, our training for higher education administrators in Ukraine. I hope my presentation will not be too similar to Natalia's presentation, because of course we applied for the same funding line. There might be some similarities. I brought a retrospective first, but I will also provide you with some information about upcoming events in the future. Thea Ukraine was also a project that was funded by the German Federal Ministry of Education and Research and supported by the DAAD as a mediator organization, and it lasted for 2 years. Unfortunately, the program will come to its end at the end of this month. And it was coordinated by the Wandelwerk, which is the Internal Center for Quality Assurance and Enhancement at FH Münster University of Applied Sciences, also in the northwestern part of Germany. And we did not implement the program alone, but we could draw from the experience of a very potent network. The overall goal of the project was to develop regional capacity in the field of science management and higher education management, with a focus on internationalization.
And when we applied for funding of the DAD, we deliberately put forward this aspect of science management and higher education management before internationalization, because our feeling was that we would meet as participants very experienced people already in the field of internationalization. And we felt that what is missing is more or less generic competencies that support higher education institutions in Ukraine to implement their good ideas. We also wanted to foster the exchange, of course, between Ukrainian scientists and practitioners and German and Ukrainian scientists and practitioners. We have not been too successful with the German-Ukrainian cooperation, I'm afraid. And also the core of our course was a training course where we wanted to qualify our participants, first of all, to analyze the status of internationality and internationalization in their higher education, and then to develop new ideas for advancement in that field, and finally to structure their good ideas into a well-planned project, and finally, of course, to implement their projects. And in order to recognize their efforts, we issued a certificate of FH Münster. This is the core trainer team of FH Münster. You see Sonja over there. She is coordinating the program together with me, and you can see we also had on board our president-to-be and also the head of our international office, of course. As I said, we did not implement the program alone, but we draw from the experience of a very good network. I want to emphasize here our project partner, Sumy State University, represented in our project by Dr. Konstantin Ganychenko, who is the head of the international office at this university. And this collaboration turned out to be particularly fruitful and extraordinarily close and very good. And we are very happy to have them on board for upcoming activities as well. And I also would like to take this opportunity to thank the German-Ukrainian Academic Society, especially Oksana Soimenicht, for their constant support, and also Professor Matthias Epple for establishing the contact to Sumy State University, because without establishing this contact, we wouldn't have this wonderful partner within our project. As for the training concept, also with our program, all participants had to apply with an idea of an application project. And then we can differentiate two strains of activities. First, we offered 3 online workshops, and in between these workshops, we also offered online coaching in order to support the participants to implement their projects. And the second strain of activities are the activities within the participants' projects, of course. They first analyzed the framework conditions for the project implementation. Then they did some advertisement for their project in order to win over relevant stakeholders to support their projects. And finally, they started implementing their project. However, it was not necessary to finish the implementation of their innovation projects until the end of our project's duration. We will have a final conference, please save the date, on 28th of September, and we will also publish a book. I will speak about that in a second. These are the topics we dealt with. You can see we also spoke about the higher education systems in Ukraine and Germany, about the Bologna process. We spoke quite a bit about internationalization as a strategic field of development for higher education institutions, both in Germany and Ukraine. We listened to some case studies of structures and workflows of international offices. And as I said before, we also put some emphasis on all these generic competencies like project management, change management, and all of this. This is an overview of the participating higher education institutions. I think from this you can see that we managed quite well to invite different kinds of universities from almost all over Ukraine. And this is an impression from our online sessions. As you can see here, we grouped the participants into subgroups along the lines of their implementation projects. For example, in the first cohort, many people dealt with the topic of developing internationalization strategies or developing international offices. And in the second cohort, surely promoted also by the current pandemic, many people dealt with the topic of internationalization at home. I hope you can guess from the pictures that we also had a lot of fun. And I also would like to take this opportunity to thank all the participants for their really active participation, for their productive contributions, and also for creating such a warm and friendly atmosphere. And I'm very grateful that we will stay in contact also after the project via Ukraine. So in a nutshell, what did we achieve and learn? As a matter of fact, we trained 32 higher education administrators from 19 higher education institutions in Ukraine. We hope that we have contributed to the development of a network between Ukrainian practitioners. As Natalia said, I think this is something that is missing in Ukraine, really a network of practitioners where they can speak on eye level about different things. And when we implemented our project, we found that there might be a potential to promote topics like, for example, strategic management, quality management, process and project and change management in higher educations in institutions in Ukraine. And we will address some of these topics, or we will provide the opportunity to address these topics in our upcoming activities. If you like, copy this or take a picture of this QR code, because that will guide you through our website, where you find more information about our final conference on 28th of September, which we will organize jointly with our partner, CeDiS State University, where we will talk about trends and different perspectives in the field of internationalization of higher education, where you also have the opportunity to listen to some of our application projects. Keep your eyes also open for our book publication. We hope to publish the book in November. There also we will discuss different trends in internationalization of higher education. We will introduce all of our application projects, and keep your eyes open. Just Google Thea Ukraine, you will find our website and all information about that. The best thing is yet to come, which is our new project, Thea Ukraine X, which stands for multiplication trainings for higher education administrators in Ukraine. It will start on the 1st of October, will last 2 years, and we do it again in partnership with CeDiS State University. And what we want to do with this project is to promote multiplication trainings at Ukrainian higher education institutions. That means concretely that first we will train a group of tandem trainers to become trainers themselves. We have recruited them from the first 2 cohorts of Thea Ukraine. And then we will issue a call for application where colleagues from Ukrainian higher educations can apply, either managers of quality assurance, managers of internationalization, and they have to apply with a training idea, a training that they want to implement at their higher education institutions. We then will match the aforementioned tandem trainers with our applicants, and they will then jointly implement the training at their higher education institutions. Moreover, we will also in this project implement our interactive online barcamps. We did that in the course of the program Thea Ukraine together with University of Hanover and together with their participants, and that turned out to be a very fruitful opportunity for exchange between the colleagues there. So please keep your eyes open for the call. It will be published probably January or February, and you can find more information on our website. And I thank you for your attention, and I'm looking forward to questions as well.
Thank you very much to both speakers. As we are already running behind our schedule, we would have time for 2 questions maximum to our referees here. So anybody from the on-site or digital audience? I would have a question. What is the biggest challenge, and this is for both of you or either of you, what is the biggest challenge in training or offering best practice advice to higher education specialists in Ukraine? Or, I mean, it would be very interesting to know from first hand, like your experience, what is the biggest challenge in this process, in this training process?
My personal opinion is that the biggest challenge is a lack of communication between hierarchies in institutions and also horizontal cooperation in institutions, which is why with Thea Ukraine, and I think we will transfer this concept also to the next project stage, we invited different hierarchy levels also to participate in the program. I think that has turned out to be very fruitful. And of course, external challenges, like for example, oftentimes changes by external requirements, for example, is a challenge.
Thank you.
I agree with Petra very much, but what I also experience that if at a university, which happens, university management changes, they change everyone as well. Also, I think Ukrainian universities should think about consistency, that they keep if they change university management, so that they also include people who get experience in further processes. So that is my opinion.
Thank you. Yeah, one quick question, of course.
Could you also track some changes on the applied level? Like you have a partnership with Sumy University, and could you track this change of system, let's say a channel of internationalization in Sumy University? Like if you train a manager, he or she should think about, okay, we need to make a channel, because I'm a bit acquainted with the system of the university, and I don't see a channel with which one can internationalize the university. So have you tracked some change?
I do not know whether I get your question correctly, but what we of course could observe that via these application projects that there was change implemented in the universities. It is a little bit difficult because it was not obligatory to finish the change projects by the end of our project, but we could see that now at some universities there is an internationalization strategy in place, that now there is a handbook for incoming and outgoing students in place, for example. And also we noticed slight cultural changes, if I may say, that for example now the international office communicates differently with the different departments, or at least communicates with the departments, let me put it that way. Yeah.
So I would like to add what change we noticed in our discussions, and also difference, it's cultural difference. In Ukraine, the science manager are still not aware about their possibilities. So they wait till someone from above will tell him or her to do this or that. And in Germany, so that's what we were trying to explain, and during the project duration, I think all of our participants understood that the initiative comes also from practitioners, from those who can realize any project, and I think that's very important change, mental change, and change of the perception of their opportunities and chances, and also their impact on the higher education institution, but also in the context of science diplomacy in German-Ukrainian cooperation.
Thank you very much. I would like to to extend a big thank to the audience, both on-site and digital, and